Hi, hello, and welcome to today's release meeting for the release last Thursday, 31st of July. All right, let's jump right in. We are going to go to the admin panel to go over some enterprise feature releases. So the first one we're going to go over is permissions for objects, so Fieldcode Plus objects. You now have the ability to provide permissions to create roles with more specific permissions for objects. So, before we had the admin panel, workplace views, and now we have objects here. So for any custom objects you have, you can create roles with limited permissions per object. We have the view and edit like normal workplace and admin panel, but we also have for create and attachments. So if you turn the create off, the user with this role will not be able to create tickets if you have that integrated into your custom object, custom workflow, or attachments if you have attachments on your forms or on your components. You will not be able to use that if you have these off. So right now, I have visible both. So let's just turn this off for my role just so you can see it working. So I have only access and permissions for the assets. And I should have them without refreshing both of them. But once I refresh, you'll see now that I only have access to assets. So no longer do I have permissions for the office object. I only have permissions for assets based off of the roles here, my permissions. All right, that's one part. The second part is that was basically role-based permissions for objects. We also introduce field-based permissions. So per field now, you can add permissions. By default, every new field you add to your custom object will have permissions accessible for all. However, if you turn that switch off, you can then select your roles that you have already set up to have access to this field. What does that mean, this field here? So asset type, if I have this for just visible to one person, and this a good use case would be like salaries or numbers or something you don't want everyone to see, depending on what the custom object is. Salary is just a good one. Let's say you have an employee database. You don't want all the employees to see everybody's salary. What does that mean? That means you're going to not see the fields here. So if I hit asset type for my user, I will not see this column and I will not see this field available here on Workplace. So per field, every field you can add special permissions per field on the object. And this will overwrite the permissions from the overall permissions because you'll be able to select them here. All right, cool. Moving on to more enterprise features. So we have, let's move down here to, trying to remember now, I think it's in forms. Yeah, forms. So we have, no, wrong one. Here. So this is a custom form for an object, my asset object, a custom form. We introduced create tickets, I think 1 or 2 releases ago. We've now include input mapping. What does that mean? If you switch this on, so I'll just show an empty one, it's automatically by default turned off. However, if you want this to be pre-filled with the value inside a field from the asset here or any other related object within any other related object fields. So in this case, these fields are coming from my asset object. I also have a related field to the office object. So I have some office fields in here too, like country, company. Those are from my office object. So basically any field connected to the form you're creating, you'll be able to select from. So I'll show you what that means. So for company, I have it mapped out to brand. So whatever's in the brand field from the asset objects, it's going to pre-fill this when I hit that create ticket button. So here I have asset tag is mapped out to asset ID, serial numbers mapped out to serial number, models, again, mapped out to brand, because I just as an example, I want to show 2 of them. So what does that mean? When I'm here in my asset thing and I have create ticket, you see I have a serial number here, I have the brand here, and I have the asset ID here. When I hit create ticket, it pre-fills it with the brand. Wherever you have it mapped out, Epson is also brand, asset tag is asset ID, and serial number is serial number. Yeah. So that's it. So you can now have input mapping from custom objects for your create ticket from the workflow. All right, moving back to admin panel. Give a lot of love to interfaces this release. So right away here, you'll see a new page. I can show you here on this one. So now I've added interface users here. We've also updated the labels and a lot of the text for interface permissions, which used to be called permissions, but to make it more clear and stand out from permissions for access, we've renamed this to interface permissions. And this used to be called security configurations. We now call it API keys. Interface user can be anything, anyone that needs to be working with your incoming mappings. So I just have some generic ones here. Username's a system, and it creates an automatic email for you. And then this can be used in your incoming mappings, so on and so forth. So when you create a new one, you give it a username, you give it a password, and you select which permission. And these interface permissions from here, or the permissions are from here. So any one of the permissions you have here, you can assign all three, one, whatever your setup is. Yeah. And then these interface users can then be used throughout your mapping needs. So leading to our next one here, incoming mappings. For incoming mappings here, we have some new authentication methods. Before, I think we just said API key. Now we have basic auth and OAuth 2. Just select these, and as long as you have the system set up wherever, you'll be able to use them. You see now here we have the permission selection page. We now include here where this interface permission is already attached to. So in this case, the interface permission API key is attached to, or the API key is attached to this one twice, and this interface permission is attached to interface user for one interface user. All right. And this leads us into the overall change. Since if you've read the release notes, you'll see that we have added here that Microsoft is depreciating basic authentication for SMTP auth and Exchange Online by March next year. So in order to comply with that, we now offer OAuth 2 authentication for SMTP configurations for both project and account. So we have to meet that. So what we did is we now allow OAuth 2 authentication types or basic. Basic is what we had before. You just fill this out and you have your OAuth, your basic. But now we offer OAuth 2 where you can fill out the OAuth 2 credentials, connect it, test your connections, everything's good, save it, and then now you're going to be using your OAuth 2 SMTP connection. The same applies to, where are they at? Projects here. So your project, here you activate it, and now you'll see we have the basic, which was before, and now we offer the OAuth 2 with password or with client credentials, whatever fits your needs. We have it available for you to fill out and get your IT team to set this up for you. All right. Dispatch groups. So let's go to dispatch groups here. Last month, we introduced same location grouping for dispatch groups. However, there were some cases where it wasn't strong enough and some other settings took over. So let's say in case you had, let's say you had scheduled tickets as early as possible, you had that really strong here, and you had your same location on, there was no weight to it. So in some cases, this may outweigh the same location settings and place some same location on two different engineers when you didn't expect that. So what we did for you is we now added a weight. So now if you set this to 10 or whatever higher number, this is going to take over, let's say in comparison to same location or the same to as early as possible. So this is weighted at a 5, and same location is weighted at a 10. 10 is outweighing the 5. So same location grouping is going to be more effective, and your expectations will be met more, getting more same location grouped together rather than early as possible. So we added this weighted bar for you. so you can set the weight yourself and fine tune it to your needs. All right. We also have in Europe here, we have the European Accessibility Act coming to effect, and we needed to change some UI, UX settings for our sites that go out to outside customers. So we had to update the customer portal to meet these requirements. So no longer do we have the Fieldcode branded customer portal. This is now more accessible for all users. So when this link is sent out to all users, this meets all the requirements for the European Accessibility Act. Basically, we just changed everything to this nice dark blue color, added some tooltips here. We have added some accessibility, tabbing through. You can get through everywhere if you just tab through. You can open up stuff, as well as the calendar has been updated. Again, tab through, select, unselect. You can go through here, select your days, whatever you need. Yeah, this is just to meet accessibility and get in accordance with. The main thing you will notice, maybe if you use this often, is the map has been reduced greatly. It's usually taking up half the screen. We've now moved it to 25% of the screen. So when your users are opening up in mobile view, it looks much better, and you don't have to scroll all the way down to the ticket details because the map was taking up most of the screen. All right. Workplace. So let's go back to my dispatch view here. And we have skills. So as before, when you add a skill, we always created a nice little entry here, user interactions, where it showed, hey, someone added a skill. We now have added what skill was added during this. So let's add a few skills and see what that looks like. So I've added check, laptops, iOS, and medium printers. And as before, we have the skill added, but what's new is now you can see which skill was added. So at a glance, you can look through the history and see, oh, this guy added check, laptops, and medium printers. And also, when you remove something, it also shows that skill removed, what skill was removed, and by who, laptops was removed. So that's good, because you can see who removed what and when and why, and you can question the people that need to be questioned. Why'd you remove that skill? All right. Aliases. So alias is simple. We just added all the same aliases that are also available in the admin panel. So every alias we have here, all the database fields we have are available here to use in your ticket infos, emails, what have you. What else we got here? Search icons. Last month we introduced new search icons everywhere, different icons here, so on and so forth. We've now updated admin panel as well to match these new icons. So the admin panel also has all these new icons in place there as well. All right, workflow. Just some basic UI, quality of life improvements in workflow. So basically now, when you open up a workflow, now it's going to open up right away in tree view for you. We found out this view is more used than others, so we open up for you directly here for you. Now you can still go to the row view if you want to, but we offer the tree view right off the bat. Also, these buttons are going to be always organized. I think it was just kind of random before. They'd place in different places. This is now fixed. So if it's edited, if it's being edited one's going to be first, validation, failed, or success, testing, and then check total coverage will always be in that order. And another one here is when you're stretching out this left side here, we now have word wrapping. Before it wasn't doing anything. You couldn't see what it was. So now it's just much nicer to look at, just quality of life improvement for you. All right, analytics. We've got a new tab. This was introduced early in the month, but we did announce in our insider email, but if you're not part of this newsletter, you won't know. So now ticket overview, we've added a new tab, which is great, the parts overview tab. We have lots of options here to filter through there. You can see all the parts throughout your whole account. Play with it. This is excellent. At a glance, you can see where all your parts at. You have the link to the ticket directly from the report. Everything's available in one view. Excellent. All your parts are here. All right, some fixes and improvements. We fixed an issue where the optimizer was not merging poodles together on the same location grouping. So there were some issues where poodles weren't moving with the tickets when being optimized with same location groupings on. That has been fixed. We improved the scheduling and optimization logic so that the shipping, storage, and end time only applies to poodle shipments. Also updated all the field labels. What does that mean? So now, parts. Let's say, do I have this one? No. So now when you're adding a part with poodle, or rather, let's say affected, we still have this storage time, but the optimizer and the scheduling assistant, when using those, it's not going to consider the shipping storage time unless the delivery type is poodle. So we've updated all the labels everywhere to say this is poodle storage time. You're free to use it still for your own needs, but it's not going to be considered in the optimization or when using the scheduling assistant, only for delivery type poodle. All right, there was an issue with emails being sent out in other languages and special characters weren't showing correctly. That is no longer the case. So if you send it out in a different language with umlauts or whatever other kind of funny fonts, they should all work now. No more issues there. Another one, ticket duration. Let me just go to ticket duration here. You're now able to create, before you could only create ticket duration with 15 minutes, the lowest being 15 minutes. That's no longer the case. You can now create tickets at up to 1 minute. Because there's some cases, some customers needed 1 minute ticket durations or 3 minute ticket durations, 5 minute ticket durations, and they couldn't do that before. So now you can. You can create ticket duration of 1 minute up to whatever you need. All right, last month we introduced the trace and nudge. We had the nudge before in workflow monitoring. That is no longer the case. So now nudging from workflow monitoring page is no longer available. It's been depreciated. You're gonna have to do all your ticket nudging from the workflow itself, as we showed you in the last release. I fixed an issue with time slots, time slots not showing on the last day of LSTT. For some reason, when you opened up of course I picked one of the bad LSTT. When you had one here, and you clicked on the last day of the LSTT, time slots weren't showing. As you can see, it's no longer the case. On the last day with LSTT, you'll see all time slots to select from. Long issue we've had. We finally figured it out. There was an issue with ticket infos only showing one character for some reason. There was an issue where ticket infos in some cases only show the H here or the O. That's no longer the case. So ticket infos, however they come in, we're going to show the whole text. No more just single digit or single issue with ticket infos. And we've also introduced, not only can you press the button to search, you can now use the enter button as expected to search in all search fields. No longer the case where you only have to click on the button. Simply click on the enter button. Whoops. Then go to search. Thank you very much. That's all I have for you.